Hey traders, Raghee here, and in this recap video I'm actually going to give you a quick tour of our current spreadsheet, and it's going to actually give you a look at the positions that we have open right now and some of the ones that we've got on our radar, which we update sometimes daily or as the setup shifts in price. But the one I'm going to focus on right now is the April gold contract and talk a little bit about rollover as well as our current trade in GC. All right, so you can see here, we're focusing on April gold. I had a little bit of February gold as well as April gold. And one of the things you'll notice when you look at the open interest for these two markets is that you're dealing now with the February contract dropping in open interest as the April contract starts to pick up. And you really ideally want to be out of that February contract for gold by this Friday. So that's something we're rolling out of. But the contract that we took for the entry was April. Now this keeps us from having to deal with the rollover, having to take a trade off the table, really for no other reason than it's hit its expiration. So April gave us a little bit more time to follow the healthy uptrend here, and we've been doing so since approximately 1332. Our first profit target, which you can see here, so we have our entry, and then we have our target. This is target 1, and that's 1345. So once that 1345 is hit, what you want to do is take some of the position off the table. Now what that means is if you bought, you actually sell a quarter, a third, maybe even up to 1/2 of the position and move the stop to a break even. And we list that as well on the spreadsheets. You can see under the break even column, I want you going to a 1329. This way, after realizing approximately a 13-point win, so that's $1,300 per contract of April gold, of the gold futures contract, we move to then a 300-point trailing, or kind of really what I call a break even. It's not actually a break even in terms of the arithmetic, but it's a break even in terms of being able to minimize the risk to our capital. At this point, really all I'm risking is unrealized gains. And the tighter that break even, obviously, the less that we're risking. So I'll usually look to a level about the spread or even a support level around the entry. And that transition from the first target being hit, moving the stop up from what we call the point of validity stop loss to a break even is a huge transition from really what is risk management to trade management. So now what's the plan? Well, we have this narrow Darvis here, so rather than getting flat, what we want to see is whether or not we retest 1332. We have a double Darvis there. That may not be a bad level to consider a re-entry, or even perhaps purchasing some gold calls. But we can keep an eye on that level for maybe entering again, or on the flip side, and this is what I'd really like to see, I'd like to see a momentum break through 1350, which is also a major psychological level. Why would I think that? Well, I have a fairly narrow Darvis, and these Darvis levels are automatically drawn for us. So I'm not having to go through and look for support and resistance and draw it manually. This is an objective tool that automates support and resistance. So I know there's a narrow Darvis here. When I have narrow Darvis, I'm looking for a momentum play, most especially when I have these propulsion dots. And this is something, this is putting the main tools that I have here, the wave and grab, propulsion, and Darvis, putting this trio of tools to work. And these are all free tools. It's just a matter of understanding what each is telling you about the underlying market trend. So I want to mention that this Thursday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 Eastern, I'm going to be doing a webinar, a free webinar, talking about a lot of these tools that I use every single day. They're free tools that I'll show you how to install on some of the most popular platforms out there. You can go to simplertrading.co/gains. Let's talk about some of the things that I'll be walking you through. So this is actually a mix of not just my 2018 outlook, but also my watch list, my longer term watch list for the year, for crypto, for futures, and for currencies. Okay, and I'll also be talking about my tops indicators. Now, this was a really, really popular class that we did back in November, I believe it was, where I talked about my 3 free tools and how I can analyze any market, understand the market trend, and which strategy, whether it be the underlying market or some sort of options strategy, which to deploy based upon the clarity and the market trend that we're seeing. So I'm going to be walking through this process, how I do it, the tools that I use at 7 Central this Thursday. So if you can attend live, great, because I do a lot of Q&A during these sessions, so you can get your questions answered. But if you can't, go ahead and register anyways, because we'll send the replay out to you. So this is one of my favorite things to do in the beginning of the year, talk about my 2018 outlook. In fact, one of the things that I had talked about, and I'm going to talk about this on on Thursday, and I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag, but some of you know that my big trade in 2017 was the euro. And it's still on. In fact, I still have a 125 target from a 108.55 entry with a number of re-entries throughout 2017. And I kind of call it my mic drop trade, right? Just kind of mic drop. That's just the epic, that's all that needs to be said. Well, the pound is well underway right now, and we're going to have plenty of opportunities like this in a number of markets. And those are the kind of markets that I'm going to show you. In fact, we've already entered the pound twice down in this area, and we're already seeing, in some cases, 700 plus pips. And this is only January. Okay, so it's early. It's still early within the trend, and I'm excited that we're going to be able to talk this Thursday, and I can talk about markets like this, Bitcoin, the FTSE, and these will be markets you can execute not only in, with futures contracts or Forex. I'll also be talking about some of the related ETFs, because that's very much a part of the currency and commodity conversation. All right, so looking forward to seeing you on Thursday. You can head on over to simplertrading.co/gains. Bring your questions. Talk to you soon.